What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. I have a very special comparison review for you guys today. It is the very similar but quite different Adidas Adizero 4 leather remake and the Adidas X99.Leather Speedportals. Both are exceptional football boots, and I want to share my thoughts on which ones I prefer. We're going to go through an entire list of 1 month review rating systems, and I'm going to pick a winner out of each one of these, and of course we'll go over some of the tech specs as well. Let's hop straight into it. So without further ado, one of the things that I wanted to do before making this review was to really beat the crap out of both of these boots. As you guys know, with both of these pairs, which you can see here, this 99 leather I reviewed quite a lot of months ago. There's lots of staining here in the sole plate area. It's all of the chrome has washed away. There's even like gum stains on the bottom, which I know is kind of gross, but the leather is totally untreated. I wore them predominantly on artificial ground pitches. They're very well loved and used, and that is the same with this 99 leather remake, or I guess kind of fusion, if you will, of a boot. This one I've also used quite a lot. There's tons of stains everywhere. Obviously, the chrome is wearing off of the sole plate. These have been a regular in my rotation as well as a game boot, which has been absolutely fantastic. Some of the leather even is fraying on the top of this. So both boots I wanted to make sure that I wore quite a bit before actually making proper judgments. And I feel like for the most part for comparison reviews, you can absolutely do tech specs reviews, and that's a great way to do comparison reviews. I just prefer to actually wear both of the boots just so I can really get a sense of what they're like, and that way I can give you guys my best recommendation for which one you should buy. For obvious reasons, both are limited edition, both are remakes, both are very, very hard to find. I haven't seen these in a really long time on the resale market on Instagram. These I've seen a couple different places, but they're both very hard to come by is the bottom line. So let's hop straight into a couple of the tech specs and sort of an overview of what each of these boots is. So let's go first with the the F50 Adizero 4 remake. That is these bad boys in the silver, the white, and then it had a really beautiful kind of multi-rainbow colored chrome plating on the bottom, which obviously since I've gotten the boots has worn off. But these are a very, very cool looking pair of football boots. So a couple of the tech specs. So this is based on the F50 Adizero leather from 2014. They had a couple different colors of these. They had this exact color, basically a 1-to-1 of this upper, and then they had one that had Volt yellow. I know that's the Nike name for the color, but an electric yellow color for the accent marks. So both of those were made in 2014. This one, obviously, with this sort of diamond pattern here on the front, is an homage to that Battle Pack boot that they made for the World Cup for 2014. This is an homage to that, plus it's sort of a fusion of all those boots put together. It is a fantastic, fantastic football boot. It's got the Speedflow and Ghosted sole plate with a Carbitex insert. So this is the first generation of Adidas's carbon-based sole plates, which obviously since then have gone away from that Carbitex insert for whatever reason. But this was their first generation that featured on the Ghosted and the Speedflow series. Really fantastic, super, super responsive. Did a really nice job of locking into the ground. And I think because of the stud pattern with sort of half chevron studs, they aren't incredibly aggressive, especially with some of these more rounded bladed studs. They do a really nice job of digging into the ground without being super, super aggressive. So I found that wearing them on both FG and AG pitches was totally suitable. They're quite a lightweight boot. I reckon they run somewhere in the 6.5 ounce mark, 6 to 6.5 ounce mark. They're very, very lightweight, even after a long time of wear. And of course they feature, a very thin K-leather upper and a synthetic midfoot and heel area. It's all basically one piece from this seam all the way around. And then it's got that really nice really nice K-leather, which of course Adidas is no longer making. So that's really nice. One of a couple of the positives and negatives about this boot. So one thing that I want to make very clear, by the way, if I haven't noticed or if I haven't mentioned this already, is that I haven't done any leather treatment. So neither of these boots were cleaned outside of water and a sponge. There was no other treatment. I didn't use any leather food, and that will be reflective in some of the fraying and some of the destruction, I guess, of the leather from that AG surface that I play on most of the time for our Flower City Union team. But that's just sort of a caveat to this whole thing, is I've done my best to beat these to hell as much as possible just to get a really good sense of how the durability is and all that stuff. So back to the leather Adizero 4s. So I have two positives and two negatives about these boots for more of a general thing. So the first positive is that the seamless sensation of this upper between the synthetic and the leather is a really, really nice feeling. It doesn't feel any different from the forefoot to the midfoot, at least when you're in a game. I really didn't notice any differences between the feeling of, say, passing a ball and striking it with the top. It was a very nice seamless sensation. I really like how they made the synthetic midfoot about as thin as the leather, which is really nice. There's no kind of abrupt changes in materials, and they really do a nice job of wrapping your foot in a really seamless way there, where there's no distractions across the upper, which I think is really, really awesome. So that's positive number one. Positive number two is it's an epic comfort all around. Yes, the heel area is quite flimsy, and this whole upper honestly is quite a bit flimsy now that I've broken it in so much. But as far as comfort goes, this boot is exceptional. It is so comfortable out of the box. It feels really free, really barefoot, and really, to me, is a fantastic example of what a leather speed boot should be. Free flowing, barefoot-like, great clean striking and first touch surface. Passing the ball feels really natural and really nice. It's got a completely suede liner along the inside, so your socks just stick right in there, and it really does do a nice job of that feel on feet, at least from a comfort perspective. So those are kind of my two big positives for this football boot. Two negatives really quick are the shape is a bit awkward from my foot. I have a little bit of bowing right here. So when I tie the laces tight, I still, right on that ankle side, have a little bit of bowing of the upper, which is a little bit annoying. My feet don't fit this boot absolutely perfectly like they do with some other boots. They're very close, but they're just not quite 100% on. And then I would say it gets a little bit sloppy because of that, especially in the heel area. I just get a little bit of rotational slippage back here. So, but overall, this boot is really, really fantastic. And that is the Adidas Adizero 4 in the leather remake version with that X-Ghosted / Speedportal sole plate. Now, moving on to another boot that's been a mainstay game boot for me, as well as obviously training sessions. This is the X99 Speedportal. I guess it's not a remake because it's a completely different boot, but this is a fusion of a couple different pairs of boots. In 2015, Adizero 99 gram released, which was the lightest boot in existence, and that is basically take away the sole plate, take away this leather, everything from here backwards, including this sort of textile synthetic with a really see-through, you can see my fingers underneath moving. This entire midfoot and heel area is all the same on the 99 gram football boot from Adidas back in 2015, excuse me. So this is a really, really nice replica of that they've just added some excellent structural qualities to make it a much longer lasting football boot, and to be honest, perform really well as well. So this is the Speedportal sole plate featuring the Carbitex insert as well. As you can see, there's some crap here on the instep, but this is the second generation of that speed frame sole plate that featured a little bit of a longer Carbitex down into sort of the base of the midfoot, almost into the heel area. Really nice responsiveness. I found these to be a little bit more natural feeling, a little bit wider here in the toe box area as well, just from a sole plate perspective, which gives you a little bit more room and gives room for different types of feet to fit onto the sole plate and feel pretty natural. Similar to the 99 gram leather boot, which I will move out of the way actually for the sake of this little piece. Compared to that boot, this sole plate also with the stud pattern did a really nice job of being suitable for both AG and FG pitches. I didn't find any of these studs, including, obviously these are very worn down at this point, but none of these little chevron or arrow studs really were an issue for me on that AG surface that we play on most of the time for Flower City. So for me, this is a really, really well-rounded sole plate. It is one of my favorites on the market, period, just because of how responsive and how natural feeling it is. And it really does give you a little bit of energy return as you move across the pitch, which is pretty fantastic. A couple positives and I guess construction. The forefoot is K leather, and then you've got that the speed frame sole plate 2.0. So that's kind of what the construction looks like. This leather though is definitely a little bit more plush, and as you can see from the profile, is quite a bit more rounded, especially in the knuckle of the toe area. So this is much more round as opposed to, you know, quite a bit more pointy, especially when it's out of the box. Obviously I've broken this one, both of them in quite a bit, so they're going to look pretty similar. Out of the box, this boot is much thinner than this one out of the box. This is about the shape of what this boot looks like out of the box, and that's just, excuse me, something to be mindful of if you are looking for a pair of boots like this. So a couple positives and negatives about this. I have two from this one as well, or excuse me, three positives of this one and one negative. And positive number one is its responsiveness and lockdown sensation. The fit of this boot fits my foot almost perfectly. In fact, I would say it pretty much is perfect straight out of the box. There's a little bit of break-in time here on the width area, but for the most part, this is just an exceptional pair of football boots, and there is no bowing of the upper. Everything fits really nicely. The wide toe box here in the leather stretches perfectly to my foot, and it really does a nice job of fitting exactly how I want the boot to fit. So that is awesome. And because of the way the sole plate is, and because of this really nice synthetic mid-foot area, it gives you such a crazy locked-in sensation, which is awesome, especially with how thin and how lightweight this boot is. The second positive is the sole plate. The sole plate is probably one of my favorites, as I said before, on the market. Potentially my favorite sole plate, like top 3 sole plates of all time, potentially, just because of how responsive it is, how aggressive it is, and how it feels not too aggressive, but also aggressive enough for pretty much any playing surface, which is amazing. The third positive is the heel structure. This heel is awesome. It's got enough structure, but enough adjustability where I fit in this, and it just, the suede liner wraps my heel area really, really nicely, which is fantastic. So the heel area is a huge piece for me because I really don't like getting blisters from rotational stuff like this, but my ankle feels super locked into this boot at all times, and that for me is a huge positive out of a boot that you really want to have a locked-in fit with. One of the negatives that I think plays a pretty major role in a reason why I haven't worn these as much in the last couple weeks is because of the change in material. And this is something I actually spoke to a viewer about on Instagram. But one of the major reasons why I have been a little bit kind of unenthused with this boot just simply from a playing perspective, and it doesn't really affect me that much from a playing perspective, but as you can see how seamless something like this is, where the boot is almost unnoticeable between the synthetic and the leather, that's absolutely not the case with this boot. And I think for me, as somebody who really enjoys whipping in the ball, who enjoys shooting a lot, I really want a clean striking surface, and when you have essentially paper thin synthetic here that goes straight into a plush leather material, it kind of creates a little bit of a bulbous feeling here in the toe box area. And that is something that I would say it's a negative, but it's not the end of the world, and I still enjoy and love wearing these football boots. It's just not as enjoyable to wear when I'm looking for a nice seamless sensation across the entire upper to play with. So for me, that's just one of the negatives. So as far as overall tech specs goes, that's kind of it for these two. They're very, very similar. Synthetic midfoot and heel areas, Carbotex inserts on the bottom, leather forefoots. They're very, very similar. Now let's hop into the comparison, and we'll go over all of the sort of 1 month review metrics without looking at the numbers. So all I'm doing is simply comparing these two boots from who wins out of each category. So that's all we're doing. You guys can go back and watch the 1 month reviews of each of those boots and see what my completely subjective view of each of those metrics are. But for the time being, we're just gonna do all those categories, but I'll pick a winner between the two, okay? So we got both boots here, and we're gonna first start, actually I might go with the right foot of each one. Look how beautiful. Okay, so out of these two boots, these are both, again, fantastic, so similar when it comes to construction and everything. We're gonna go first through the sole plate. So as I said before, the Speedportal sole plate, which is here on this ombre green 99 leather boot, feels, at least underfoot, a little bit wider and a little bit more natural feeling than this Adizero 4 does. And I haven't really nailed down, maybe it's the stud shape, maybe it's that this one has a little bit more carbon through this midfoot area, but to be honest, they're so similar. I just find this one to feel a little bit more natural underfoot. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about football boots is I prefer something that's gonna, even if it has a really responsive sole plate, it feels super natural. That's something that's really important to me. So for me, the X Speedportal 99 wins out of the sole plate area. For the color, and this is, again, completely personal preference, I think the white and the silver from this Adidas leather Adizero definitely wins for me. So for me, this is gonna take the win on the color. For the heel area, as I said before, I was singing praises of the 99 leather Speedportal. This boot is gonna win in the heel area. I just think this is way too floppy. And as I said before, with the way it kind of fits my foot, it gets a little bit sloppy because of how moldable and malleable it is. Whereas this continues to have a little bit of its structure throughout the entire boot and its lifespan, and has a lot more locked in sensation in that heel area. So for me, the heel area on this 99 leather definitely wins out. Now for the upper, both of these boots are fantastic, but as I said, with the differences in the way that the seamless sensation of the F50 Adizero feels compared to the 99 leather, I'm gonna give the upper to this one. Yes, I know the fit of this one is a little bit better, but for me, the Adizero 4 leather just feels a little bit better. The upper is just seamless. It feels super nice to hit a ball in any sort of direction, anywhere on the foot, dribbling, passing, shooting, crossing, any of that stuff. I really feel like this boot is superior just because of the quality and the thinness of the leather. And then of course, the way that this synthetic and leather really has this seamless sensation across it. So for me, this is the winner on the upper. Lockdown is a no-brainer for me. I've mentioned this a couple times now in this video. This is absolutely the lockdown king. This boot genuinely I would say this is top 5 boots for lockdown for my foot type almost ever. I think this is one of the most sensational boots for lockdown because it fits my foot so well and it's got the nice amount of structure across all the right places in this football boot. It does such a good job of making it feel like I have nothing on my feet and that these spikes, basically just the stud pattern and this Carbitex insert just gives me all the performance I need and it just becomes part of my foot. So for me, the lockdown goes to the 99 leather. As far as break-in time, both are actually really good. I found that I needed a little bit of break-in time. I'd say anywhere between 3 and 4 hours, maybe 2 to 4 hours of break-in time between these two. Both are pretty good. They're not the best that I've ever had. I don't fit in them perfectly straight out of the box, but I definitely feel like these boots both do a really nice job of breaking in well. So for me, both of them, this is a tie for break-in period of time just because, again, they fit really well and eventually they break in despite this one's shape being maybe not so much. So that's for break-in time. Durability and build quality is also, I would say, a tie. As far as no cracks in the sole plate, which you can't see any on this one. Studs have obviously worn down a little bit, but that's just from playing time. And then all the rest of these boots really, other than maybe a little bit of separation of the sole plate. But again, I've worn these boots for quite a lot of game time and training time hours on mostly AG pitches, which for leather boots, especially ones that are a little bit more on the delicate side and impressive from a boot that's upper is supposed to come 7-8 years ago. This is a tie for durability standpoint because both of these have held up extraordinarily well. And I don't think you'd have issues with durability on any surface if you were to pick one of these two football boots. The shape and the fit is going to go to the 99 leather just because, again, as I said, once I broke both of these in, this boot wins out simply because of the shape of the boot, albeit this one being more comfortable theoretically and the touch being better. I do think that the 99 leather is going to be my shape and fit winner, again, because of how nice and sort of bulbous this toe box area is, and then of course the lockdown in the heel, which is awesome. I'm going to skip competition because this is just going to be a comparison between these two boots. But for the sake of this video, all of this basically competes with everything in the speed boot category. So just keep that in mind. You've got the Vapors, the Furons, the DS Lite series. You've got the Speedportal series, you've got the Ultra series, and you've got a couple other ones from different brands as well. But I would say, for the most part, this is on top and this is right underneath, at least in my opinion. These are probably the top two speed boots. Vapor could be thrown in there. I think Vapor is really the only, I mean, DS Lite X-Fly is like one of my personal favorite boots of all time, but I wouldn't consider those a strict speed boot. So I would say definitely the Vapor is the only one that really compares with this one at the current filming of this video, which is June 8th of 2023. So that's kind of the idea there. So as far as performance goes, again, I'm going to give it to the 99 Leather because the 99 Leather just does a better job of performance for my foot type. I know that Michael, who was part of the original review of this one, actually, we did the unboxing together of this boot, and this was his Grail boot, essentially, with the more responsive sole plate and this upper. I know that he fits in these almost perfectly. His foot shape is just absolutely built for this football boot, and this is one of his favorite football boots of all time, if not his favorite football boot of all time. I would say that these are up there for me. And so for me, my foot shape, I'm gonna give the performance to the 99 Leather. The final verdict about which boot is better. So this is a really hard one because I like the touch and the feel of this one better, but the performance and just the way it fits my foot, these ones feel better. So this is going to be a really hard one. I'm going to give it to the 99. And the reason for that is just because of the shape of the football boot. The shape of the football boot is really important to me. And having a fit that isn't, I'm not, even with grip socks, I'm not slipping around, I'm not doing anything, which again, with this boot, isn't that much of an issue, but we're talking tiny little increments of difference between these two boots, and this just edges it out. So for me, the 99 point Leather X Speedportal is the winner of this boot comparison. I have thoroughly enjoyed wearing both of these football boots, and for me, they are both absolute killers in their category. These both crush most of the current boots on the speed boot market and truly are just fantastic boots to wear. So would I recommend you buy these? Yes. Would I recommend you buy this one? Absolutely. Would I recommend you buy this one? Absolutely. Whichever you can get your hands on a pair, I think they'll both fit most foot types. I would say if you have a much wider fitting midfoot, go with this one. If you have a much wider fitting toe box, go with this one. This one's gonna fit most foot types because of how malleable the upper is. That being said, the shape of the boot and the sole plate and the way the lasting has happened, it doesn't quite have as much of a higher profile as this one. This one's much more speed portal-y as opposed to this one being more speed flow. So if you know the difference in fit between those two boots, the speed portal obviously being a little more high volume, the speed flow being a little bit less voluminous and a little more streamlined, that's very much what you see reflective in these two football boots. Overall, Adidas has absolutely crushed it with both of these, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend purchasing either or both of these football boots to try for yourself. Hope you guys enjoyed that comparison. If you guys want more comparison videos, leave a like, leave a comment down below which comparison you guys want to see next. As always, be awesome, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.